Welcome to Regis World Literature. This is Lesson 27, which is an introduction. So from now on, as long as we will not be having classes together, we will have 4 tapes: the introduction, the grammar, the French literature, or I'll be going shortly to another topic there, and the novel, which in this case, the play, Cyrano de Bergerac. So look for 4 tapes. I wanted to begin with a scripture. This is: a friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. Obviously, friendship is one of the several themes that we see in Cyrano de Bergerac, and we see it more than once, this tender relationship, this very faithful relationship between Lebray and Cyrano. And so I wanted to start our class with that as something for you to consider, giving you a little bit of expectation on what we're going to be doing as long as we are not having class together. Again, 4 tapes each week. You have access to dropping papers off and picking papers up, and that would include something you might need that I announce in one of the tapes, for instance, a test, which will be coming up in a couple of weeks if we're still out of class. So there'll be 4 tapes each week for you to look online for. Of course, we're in Lesson 27 now, which means next week is Lesson 28, Lesson 29, etc. You can pick up papers again at Hoffmantown, Building D, 8:30 to 8:30. Till 10:30 a.m. Tuesday and Thursday. So the building will be open and we'll be having papers available. If there are papers that have been graded, you can pick them up. You can drop your papers off. Okay, so it's for both picking up, dropping off, and if there's, like I said, anything else that needs to be picked up, a handout or a test, something like that, then that's the time to do it. Few other announcements. This is just to orient you during this time. The skit. Okay, first off, we had an essay due this week, and so go ahead and drop that off next week on Tuesday or Thursday, 8:30 to 10:30 a.m. Normally we have a quiz each week in class. We will be having no quizzes, but you want to definitely study. You might even want to study with a friend. We will be having a test, not next week, but the week after. So there will be a test. It will cover the grammar. It will cover French literature. It will cover Cyrano de Bergerac. And your quote-unquote notebook, your unit, will be collected at that time, and that's in 2 weeks. So next week is the week of the 28th, so we're talking about the week of the 29th, the 29th week, not the week of the 29th is over a date, but the lesson 29, 2 weeks from now. Okay. And there will be, normally we have a discussion time in class. And so let me go ahead and write on the next thing. Let me talk about, so we've talked about quizzes. We've talked about this essay. It could be due this week, except if you are not planning on coming in to pick up the book or didn't get your memo on that. Actually, that was today. Go ahead and drop it off next week. So it was due today. The quizzes we've talked about, and the test and the no quizzes. But you can go ahead and make sure you can quiz one another or study together with others. But there will be the test and the unit. Now, when we talk about the unit due, we're talking about, I'll go into that more on the next tape next week. But this is due in 2 weeks. And you will pick up the test in 2 weeks. That would be any time that Tuesday or Thursday of the following week, not next week, but the following week. And the unit would include your notes from the tapes, as well as your biblical reflections and your glossary. Okay. So now the skit was also due today. We may or may not come back to that skit. If we come back to class, and we know a week we're coming back to class, we'll probably have you do those skits when you get back to class. Okay, but I'll keep you posted on that. Hopefully we'll have a chance to do those together. Now, what will your homework be? Actually, let me talk about one more thing before homework. Now, obviously, if we were to be having class today, we would have this as a discussion question in class, but we're not able to meet together. And so you are just going to have to be thinking this through on your own. You are going to want to title a page for your notes with this title, One Perfect Hero of Romance, and answer the following questions. Do go ahead and write bullet points for each of these questions and put that in your notes. You might want to get together with a friend. If you are not on quarantine or on social isolation, go ahead and get together with somebody else and discuss these, or even discuss it online together or whatever, or over the phone. But these would be the ideas I would want you to cover in this page of notes. Now, one more time for review, this discussion question should be written out with the directions followed. You can meet with somebody else to discuss it before you write out your notes, and this will be included in your unit when I collect it. So you want to have this in writing. Okay, now let's go on to the homework assignment for this week. So these homework assignments will be due by next Thursday, which would be the 26th. So your homework will be to read the new novel, Les Mis. That should have been picked up in class this morning. If you somehow missed that, it was available Tuesday and today. If you've missed that, you can always pick it up next Tuesday. It is also available to be read online until you get a chance to pick up the book. I highly recommend, now these are the things that would be due next Thursday. So I highly recommend you keep up with your book. This is the largest novel we read this year. It's over 800 pages, and it will carry us to the end of the year. You do not want to get behind. Okay? So make sure you have a book available to read. And again, if you haven't picked your book up yet, it will also be available next Tuesday or Thursday, as we discussed earlier. Now, the essay that was due today needs to be turned in next week. In addition, you have a new essay that has already been assigned, and that will be due next week. And that is, what do you learn about romantic love in the book Cyrano de Bergerac, or the play? Now, recall, we're going to have our typical standard requirements, at least a 5-paragraph essay, and this would be 2 to 3 pages. And you will use a quote per point, as well as biblical integration, our typical standards. Okay, you want to start a new unit on Les Miserables with biblical reflections, 3 each week, and glossary requirements. Remember, you write the word, the definition, and quote it as it's used in the book. So you'll have all of that, a 5 glossary, 3 biblical reflections, and then you'll have listened to the 4 tapes, because this introduction is 1, and you'll take notes. Now, the notes will not be on this introduction unless you just want to. Certainly, it'd be a good idea to keep your homework assignments and that kind of thing at bay, or you might even want a page. But the other 3, on grammar, on French literature, whatever the next topic will be, and on the book, Les Mis, well, Cyrano de Bergerac first, and then Les Mis, those will want to be each having its own page and turned in with the appropriate unit. Okay. So I think that is all the instructions you need. If you do have any questions about an assignment or you're confused about something, you may text me. And I will address those questions in the next tape. So questions I get today will be addressed in next week's tapes, unless it's just something that's just personal and I can give you a quick answer. But if the question's more broad than that, it will be addressed next week. Okay, trusting that's clear to you, and we will weather through this time. And just be definitely in prayer for those you know, for the nation, for our leaders, and for the world, right? During this time that we need to really have great wisdom on how to navigate through this trial. So we will look forward to talking to you soon, and I trust that it will be a wonderful spring. However, we have to modify our behavior during this time. Okay. Use it to your advantage. Be thoughtful and reflective in how this time can be a blessing to you and others. God bless.